Hey everyone, welcome back to the Guitars with David. Today I have a very special guitar. This is on loan to me from some dear friends of my wife and I for some cleaning and repair. This is a vintage Guild Starfire 6 hollow body electric. Take a look at this beauty. Beautiful. Ebony finish with an ebony board. Of course, all the lacquer has yellowed over the years. We see some chipping away of the neck binding on the side of the fretboard, and that is the repair that we're going to be doing in this video. And I'll show you guys step by step how to do that and what is needed. Let's get this out of the case, and let's do a spin for the cameras and give it a good look around. And just look at all the natural aging that has occurred from all the love and heart that has been poured into this guitar over the years to provide others the joy of music. All right, so going over the back, all the finish checking, and man, look at all of the paint and the wear off the finish just from the playing on this guitar over the years. We have the factory Guild branded tuners. Serial number stamp is 79537, and of course matches with the factory sticker. Looking into Guild's archives on their serial number lookup, the 75,000 series through 95,000 series dates this guitar to a 1973 model. All right, we've got it on the workbench, and let's go ahead and check the straightness of the neck. And much to my surprise, the neck on this is actually perfectly straight. You know, the inlays on this are really, really nice. They remind me of, let's see, first off, Epiphone's Les Paul Prophecy. And checking out these pickup rings, you know, they have two height adjustment screws for that pickup on one side and just the one on the bottom side. Pretty good size finish paint chunk off the top next to the horn. Even though the neck binding is pretty brittle looking and cracked, it's still fairly smooth to the touch. All right, just going to do a little inspection on the area of the binding that we're going to be doing a repair on in this video. Condition of the ebony board is actually really good. There's not a lot of fingernail groove spots in the wood that you do see on quite a number of guitars that have been played for a number of years. So we're going to take the strings off. Now, since this guitar is very special to the dear friends of my wife and I's, this was actually the guitar belonging to their father. We're going to keep these strings. I usually cut them off when doing string replacements, especially older strings like this. We're actually going to just take these off and wrap them up and put them in the case for the owner, so that they can have the last set of strings that her father actually played on and touched on this guitar back years ago. All right, going to take the pick guard off, and as we can see, it has a factory kind of a felt padded bumper in between the top body of the guitar and the bottom of the top corner of the pick guard, and that is a pretty good feature, and it's necessary not only for protection of the guitar but also to give it that extra space to lift it up to the correct height. The original Guild print is still on here and not really faded at all. All right, everything's looking good on the back side of this. There's no cracks or busted spots on the pick guard. All right, so here's another part that I'm going to have to do some clean on is the three-way toggle switch has been not functioning as it's supposed to. As we see here, it is actually not staying in the treble or the rhythm position as you move it up and down. It just kind of goes right back to the center position. I'm going to go ahead and remove the pickup ring screws and check out underneath here, and hoping for some further verification date stamps on the bottom of the pickups to verify they are original and to further verify that it is a 1973 model. And all right, guys, so check that out. It has a 7-3 kind of etched into the bottom side of the neck pickup, so I take that to mean 1973 just to support the serial number. All right, looking in the cavity routes, looks really good in here for its age. There's a lot of kind of corrosion dust as the bottom of the pickups and the wire end soldering joints and everything on the guitar is kind of corrosion. The springs are really bad, so we're going to do some cleaning off with a brush and just to kind of best we can spot clean on this. And also on the back of the bridge pickup, also engraved 7-3 on the back. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that these are the original pickups. The entire guitar is all original. Nothing has been swapped out, upgraded, or changed on this example. And the pickup cavity and routing, everything looks pretty good. Underneath here, again, there's quite a bit of corrosion on the back of the pickup, on the soldered lead points of the wiring, and just everything in general. Just doing some spot cleaning on the top of the guitar. Really want to get the bulk of that dirt and dust off from underneath where the pickguard was and around the pickup rings before I actually start cleaning and polishing the top of this guitar. And that's really important to clean away all the debris and dust and dirt on the top of the guitar before you start just polishing, because otherwise, if you just start putting in the elbow grease and polishing, you're actually going to cause more scratches into the finish with all the debris pushing it around across the top finish of the guitar, whereas you need to get that off of there before you start your polishing and buffing. I'm using the Dunlop polishing cloth and Dunlop polishing cleaner. You just want to spray about 4 to 6 sprays into the cloth on a dry and clean side, and go into the buffing and just do that in circle passes as best as you can before going on to the flip side of the cloth where it's dry and clean to buff out and bring out the shine back into the finish. Looking at this bridge, this is a solid brass piece. Looking at it, you're thinking, well, you may adjust the height of the bridge on each side with those screws, and that's actually true. But the posts actually are not threaded into the body bushings of the guitar. Those bushings are not threaded at all. They are just smooth finished, and they just actually set in there, which is pretty cool. Absolutely not how modern day guitars are, but looking at vintage examples, it's kind of nice to see the differences in how they built guitars back then. All right, so as I do some buffing on the bottom of the brass bridge, we can kind of see half of it that brings out a shine versus the other half that's still pretty dull looking. Just going to go around all the edges on this and try and get it as polished up and good looking as we can. And moving on to the ebony board, going to do some cleaning and hydrating on this, and just kind of going to do some spot cleaning. Not going to do as thorough of a job as what I would normally do on a guitar because the neck binding along both sides of the fretboard, the binding is really dried out, brittle, because of its age. So I don't want to put a lot of pressure and be rubbing across back and forth on the edges of the board, because I suspect it'd be pretty easy to bust and crack and chip off further pieces of the dried out neck binding, and we do not want to do that. Of course, we want to keep this thing is in best condition as possible. So looking at the kind of after cleaning, actually really happy with the little bit of spot cleaning that it did. It really brought out a nice shine in the ebony board. All right, so moving on to the repair work. So first thing we're going to do is tape off the area on top and below where we're going to be gluing the missing neck binding. I want to be sure and get this tape on there as close to the two edges as possible for any possible squeeze out that may happen. It should be minimal. I'm using Stumac binding glue that is going to be specifically formulated for this, and fast drying as well. So if there is any squeeze out, we want to be able to have this tape in place, because this is 10-second curing glue. So anything that gets on the fretboard that after 10 seconds, if I haven't wiped off by that point, it's going to be a permanent attachment without having to take a razor to it to get it off. Now just applying a small bead of the glue on here. I'm going to go ahead and stick it on, and I'm going to hold pressure on both sides. And I did get a little bit of that glue on my glove, and as we see here, a little piece of that glove stuck to the outside of the binding, but that's not really a problem. So you see it's poking out a little bit there, so we're going to be able to get that off with a razor very easily and clean it up real nice. Now time to remove the tape, and hopefully we didn't have any seepage in between the neck body and the tape. So let's Came out real clean, so no issues with any squeeze off. And there's one more spot on the opposite side of the neck up higher up on the board where there's a loose piece of binding, and we're going to go ahead and secure that down so it doesn't break off. All right, and that patched up nicely. A little squeeze off on the top there, but we've wiped that off before it dried. I'm going to add a little lead to the nut slots, and it does look like in the past someone has added something on here before. Thing else we're going to adjust is I noticed when I was removing the strings that all 6 of the tuning keys really loose, and as you can see here they just spin freely. So we're going to go ahead and tighten up the screws on these, or over the years they've just kind of worked themselves loose. All right, that is much better. Now this is how they're supposed to turn. All right, one of the last things we're going to do here is take a look underneath the truss rod cover. And, at first I thought, looking at this truss cover, me being a Gibson guy and Les Pauls, it kind of looks like it would be upside down, but actually no, this is the correct direction for the truss cover, as it kind of emulates the shape of the top of the headstock. And going to do a few squirts of the Dunlop polishing and cleaning conditioner on here, and just kind of go over the headstock. And this is going to shine up pretty well, as there's just really a lot of dust and loose debris on here to wipe and clean away. Not really any scratches or gouges in the headstock. It's a really nice example. Just have the aged vintage lacquer on here that has gone yellow over the years. And let's just do some spot buffing on the truss rod cover itself. And these tuning keys are looking pretty dull. We're going to put some cleaner and buffing solution on the buffing pad and just kind of go over these, see if we can buff them up and bring back a little bit of that shine. And they're actually looking, turning out pretty nicely. This adds a nice touch to it. So I've cleaned the spring underneath the tremolo arm. It was pretty grungy looking before, and now we're at the point we're going to ready to restring this gorgeous instrument. So the treble pickup at the bridge position does not work. After doing all the cleaning on the electronics best I could, and getting all the debris off of the bottom of the toggle switch, the only position where there is sound is the middle position and the rhythm position up. So for some reason the bridge pickup just is not working. So unfortunately all we're going to be able to do today on tone demos is going to be the neck position.